Okay. Good afternoon. Mark Kleiser, Planner 2 with Planning and Building Department, and calling the July 12th, 2023 Archaeological Commission meeting to order at 2:01 p.m. So we're going to conduct roll call. Planning and Building Services is me. I am here. Museum representative?
Here.
Archaeologist representative is absent by pre-arrangement. Native American representative?
Here.
Alternate representative?
Here.
And we do not have an industry representative as of yet. Okay, moving on to item 2, Archaeological Commission Administration. The applications listed below will be reviewed by the Archaeological Commission. You are invited to view the meeting on YouTube and provide any information pertinent to these applications. If you have photographs of the site, you are encouraged to email them to the above email address by 2 p.m. on July 12, 2023. And that brings us to item 3, survey required. We have 5 items under this section, starting with item 3A. CDP number is CDP 2022-0021. The owner is Hassan and Deborah Galmouche. The agent is Deborah Lennox. The request is a standard coastal development permit to construct a single-story, 1,886 square foot single-family residence with a 360 square foot deck. The request includes 2 water tanks, generator, septic development, and development of existing well. Also demolition of shed, paving driveway with concrete fence, a gate, a gravel walkways with path lights, and utility line from well. The project is located in the coastal zone, approximately 5.5 miles north of the town of Gualala Center, on the west side of State Route 1, and addressed at 33300 South Highway 1, Gualala. Assessor parcel number 143-05006. Now, is anyone here online to discuss this project?
We do have the owners online.
Oh. Good afternoon, Mr. Galmouche. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, Mark.
So we are bringing this item back from last month. It was continued. Do you have anything to say before we discuss it?
No, just waiting on the commission and appreciate all you guys' help.
Okay. So I am the planner on this project. It was continued from last month because of AB 52. It requires 30 days to hear back from the tribes. It was 28 days last time. At this time, I have not heard back from either the Manchester tribe or the Kashaya Band of Pomo Indians. It is past the 30 days. Previous discussion 2 months ago requested that we refer to these tribes, but the discussion was leaning towards possibly not requesting a survey due to the location and the height of the bluff. Any further discussion on?
I'm drawn because the land is flat. It's not really accessible for harvesting, but it's near a waterway, it's flat land, and especially like a septic that's going to go deep, I feel like it should be looked at. It wouldn't take very long. It's only 1.25 acres.
Okay.
So,
I agree. Yeah.
you know, Casper's a really wide open, nice place. You know, people want to live there. So.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Dick, any thoughts? No? Okay. Well, can we get a motion then?
I motion we survey. I recommend a survey.
Okay, we have a motion to request a survey. Is there a second?
Lockhart, second.
Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Lockhart. Okay, roll call then. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
I'm sorry, is that yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, my internet might be blipping. It just gave me the unstable send also.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is also a yes then. Okay, motion carries 4-0. Mr. Gamouche, we will request a survey then of the property, an archaeological survey. If you have any questions, you can direct them to Deborah Lennox, and I can send her any material you'll need to get that survey going.
Not a problem. We'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 3B. This is CDP 2022-0015. Owner applicant is Peter Martin. The request is a coastal development permit to install a replacement on-site sewage disposal system. This is a follow-up application to an expired emergency permit EM 2021-0010. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately 2 miles south of Fort Bragg City Center, on the east side of State Route 1, approximately 0.3 miles south of its intersection with State Route 20, and it is addressed at 18725 North Highway 1, Fort Bragg, assessor parcel number 017-14013. And do we have anyone here to speak on this item?
I believe the owner is on using Vandy's link,
Oh. Okay.
or one of the owners.
Would that be, I don't know who that is then.
Could you please unmute and state your name for the record?
Good afternoon. I am Sarah Bradley. I'm an agent for the owners. I am their biological consultant.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Do you have anything to add to the discussion before we begin discussing it?
Really, our only issue is the fact that the current septic system is failed. And so getting this replaced as soon as possible is really in everybody's best interest, because it becomes an environmental issue. The area that's been proposed for the septic system is a raised planter in the center of a parking lot. It's a very small portion of the property, and really the impacts beyond that area are minimal at best.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you. Okay,
So,
Thank you.
My question is, the septic is not subsurface then? It's not gonna go in the ground at all? Is that what?
no, it is subsurface. I submitted photos earlier today. There's a circular driveway parking area that the units are in a horseshoe, and there's a circular driveway and parking area in front of the units. This area where the septic is proposed to go is a raised planter in the center. It's surrounded by concrete. Currently, there are non-native trees and shrubs in that area, and it's covered in ornamental lawn.
Okay. Do you know how deep the septic goes?
The design, I don't. I'm not a septic person.
It's really not much information.
well, I'm sort of familiar with this site. There is surrounded by parking lot. The trees are non-native. My understanding, it's been previously disturbed. I don't know how deep it would go though for septic.
It's a relatively small area of disturbance though,
Yeah.
right? Probably like 20 feet by 20 maximum
Yeah.
with the leach field.
Yeah. Yes.
It was recommended that they do one, has no previous cultural resource.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
How far is this from Noyo Harbor?
I would say it's approximately,
Well, it's
Maybe-
2 miles south. It's almost right at Noyo Harbor, that intersection.
it's just south of Hare Creek, correct? The bridge is Bradley?
That
Yeah.
is-
Okay.
Yeah, it says it's 300 meters south of Hare Creek.
Yeah.
South of the intersection.
Commissioner Dick, any questions? The applicant?
I have no questions, no. I'm torn because it's on concrete and a raised bed and all that, so. Just thinking.
So it's already been disturbed,
It's
probably.
Been disturbed, yeah, and there have been non-native trees there, so one would presume there was soil disturbed to put those trees in.
Okay, I think I'd pass on it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Given the small amount and the fact that it was probably disturbed.
I agree. Okay, so then I'll make the motion then. No survey required with the inclusion of the discovery clause.
Right.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Okay, roll call then. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is a yes. Okay, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you very much, and on behalf of my clients, thank you.
All right, have a good afternoon.
You too.
I have a general question. A lot of these are an acre, or an acre and a half, or 2 acres. And is there some way, I know they're all individual people, but it seems like there should be some way you can get one archaeologist or one team of archaeologists out to do like 5 or 6 of these.
That's a bad idea. Let's agendize that and.
I mean, I
have a
don't know if
further
legally
discussion.
you can do that. I mean, their reports would all be individual for each piece of land, but, you know, to have all these people come out to the coast to do an acre,
Right,
they drive out an hour and a half or 2 hours from Santa Rosa, and then, they walk around for an hour, and then somebody else is doing it like 5 miles down the road, and they're doing
Right.
exactly the same thing,
yeah. I will,
But that's way too common sense. We can't have that.
Well, you can't,
This
you
is
can't
capitalistic, right?
give the business to, I mean, they have to be able to choose their own archaeologists, so
right.
you could, I guess, have a list of potential, I don't know, where do they get a list of who does this work?
Sonoma State has a list online.
So they contact Sonoma
Yeah.
State.
But that's a good idea. I will think about it and agendize it for further discussion, possibly then.
That's something the county should consider, the Board of Supervisors, in regard to governance issues.
And it is my understanding that it's difficult sometimes to get a survey done because the archaeologists are so backed up. And if you find that someone is going to be out in your area, maybe why not?
Yeah, or Sonoma should be able to say,
By the way, so-and-so's working down the 5 miles
yeah,
down the road.
we've got these other
Yeah.
jobs scheduled, and we could put yours in or something, I don't know.
Okay, good idea, yeah. I will.
But I'm looking at, the first one's an acre and a quarter, this one's an acre and 1.75, and, it's like, the
yeah.
next one's probably real small too, because it's a house in Casper.
Right. And on that note, we'll move on then to item 3C. This is CDP number 2022-0039. The owner applicant are Donna and Dan Bradley.
This is 2 acres.
The request is a standard coastal development permit to renovate existing residential structures, construct a 600 square foot guest cottage and other accessory structures on land contiguous with state parks and designated as a highly scenic area. The project is located in the coastal zone, approximately 0.8 miles south of Casper and approximately a half mile south of the intersection of Casper Road and Pacifica Drive. It is addressed at 15100 Sea Drift Avenue in Casper, assessor parcel number 118-04014. And Do we have anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item or anyone associated with the project
We
ready to
have
speak?
the owners.
Good afternoon. This is Donna Brady. Appreciate the time today. I'm here with my husband, Dan. I'm speaking, although he's more familiar with the details of our project, but he's hearing impaired and his speaker's connection wasn't working, so he'll bear with me.
Okay.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a hope to build a very small guest cottage immediately adjacent to our existing home. It's on an area that has already been disturbed originally. The guest cottage is going to be cut. It's cut and fill with the house is raised. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no cut and fill. It's raised with trenches and posts to minimally disturb the area. The soil will all be kept on the property. No soil will be removed. And of course, if anything was discovered, we would, find it and.
Let me, I can speak a little bit to it. So basically the area has had a previous cut and fill, and Liam has some photographs I think he's going to share with you. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to hear all your questions, so bear with me on that. So it's really a small area we're talking about. It's 600 square foot guest cottage. And we will not be doing any cut and fill. It was designed, the whole thing was designed to be raised up. So all we will be doing is the trenches in there, okay? And so we will just do minimal soil disruption. And then in addition to that, we're going to keep the soil, any soil that's, we'll keep it on site. So there's just not going to be an issue. And I think at the end, we'll be able to look at the soil that is disturbed and look for it and give you the feedback you're looking for in terms of anything that may be of interest to the committee.
Okay.
Well, the trenches, it's a small 600 square foot guest cottage, and the trenches are generally 8 to 10 inches wide by around a foot deep. Okay. And then there'll be some posts.
And you're using the existing septic. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioner Dick, commissioners, any questions for the applicant? And I would also like to note for the record, we have planner Crowley here, who is the planner for this project. Did you want to?
Well, I had nothing to share. I just, as Dan mentioned, I did have a chance to visit the site and took some photos, so I believe those are in the packet somewhere. That's all I had, though. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, commissioners, any questions for the applicant or the planner or discussion?
I'm willing to skip the survey. Seems like very minimal disturbance and very, the discovery is, they're aware of that, so.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lois?
I feel comfortable accepting the documentation, but making sure that the discovery clause is alive and well.
Agreed.
Because capture is sort of an area where my people went and camped for gathering.
It's a nice flat, open area, yeah.
Most of, and yes, and it's wide open, and I know there's more development. I've driven through there this last past summer, and I was surprised to see how many nice homes are there. I thought, oh, I'd like to live in that house.
Yeah, lots of development.
And so, but I don't recall my family mentioning. My dad mentioned it in terms of going down the bluff, and I was always, no, you don't go there. Never trust the ocean, my mother's words. Never trust the ocean.
Don't turn your back on those.
Never turn your back.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Commissioner Dick, any thoughts?
No, I think with it being raised and all that, I agree that we might skip the survey, but obviously the discovery clause should be in everything we do.
Yes. Okay, agreed then. Well, with that, then I'd like to make the motion then. No survey required with the inclusion of the discovery clause. Do I have a second?
Lockhart, second.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
Lockhart. Okay, roll call then. Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart,
Yes.
and PBS is a yes. Motion carries. No survey required. Discovery clause shall apply. Thank you very much, Don and Dan.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Have a good day. Okay, moving on to item number 3D. This is CDP number 2023-0002. The owner is NASC Investments, LLC. The applicant agent is Jeffrey Cole, MD. The request is a standard coastal development permit to install 5 electrical vehicle charging stations in the parking lot of the Seafoam Lodge. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately 0.8 miles south of Little River on the east side of State Route 1. It is addressed at 6751 North Highway 1, Little River, assessor parcel number 121-05010. And for the record, I will note that Planner Crowley is still here. He's the planner on this project. And do we have anyone from the public wishing to speak, or owner, applicant, or agent?
I see the applicant slash agent.
Is that Mr. Cole?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Okay, so before the commission begins discussion on this, do you have anything to add about the project?
No, nothing I can think of at the moment, unless Liam has anything that he wants to add in there as well.
Okay. Liam, anything you want to add?
No, I don't have anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Available for questions though.
So I have a question. I'm not sure what's involved with putting in charging stations. Are we talking about a trench from a power pole that is so deep or so, I mean, I don't really know what's involved with that.
I had that same question. Mr. Cole, could you explain how these are put in? Because looking at the site plan, it looks like it's going in an existing parking lot, but I imagine there's going to be some ground disturbance.
Yeah, so we'll have we have our proposed junction box we'll be pulling power from. We'll be running a conduit line from that box to the charging stations themselves. Let's see, there's.
So how much soil would you say is being disturbed, like in square feet? And how deep does it go?
So we're looking at, I believe the conduit line is going to be about 3.5 feet deep, and then 5.5 feet for that sign.
3.5 feet.
Ground disturbance wise, we were expecting at least minimal ground disturbance, but my colleague Clay Gallagher is on here as well. He might be able to speak a little bit more on that.
Mr. Gallagher, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah. Take a look at the construction drawings in there. It points to a couple of the different conduit routes that are going to be proposed. So the furthest one will be about 100 feet long from the transformer switchgear to the furthest charging station.
So 100 feet long. And that entire way would be 3.5 feet deep?
Yeah, it's around 3 feet.
Okay.
Do you know how wide? Is this like a really narrow trench just to drop right into?
It's fairly narrow, yes. It looks like about 1.5 feet or so.
Quite a bit.
Thank you. I was looking over the state response. They do indicate there's a low possibility of unrecorded sites.
Yeah, that's a concern.
Yes.
Thank you. So, I just feel like there's not really enough information. And I totally agree with my colleague here that a little more explanation would be nice. I mean, I don't like rubber stamping something in the air. That's what I
Right.
feel like, you know. As, with all due respect, I'm not saying that, and I understand the lodges, you know, I think that's like a no-brainer. Where are we going? We're going to the coast. We gotta stay to Seafoam because they have electric, you know, yada, yada. So, I understand that, but at least maybe have a little more in-depth, you know, like, I mean, I don't wanna have to pull it out of people.
Right. Well, these are all relatively new, and I think we're still trying to figure out what it is we need to ask of the applicant. But the 3.5 foot trench for 100 feet by, did you say 1.5 feet wide?
That's a lot of
Yeah.
soil being moved.
That's
Although,
considerable,
so if we recommended a survey, they would have to maybe post-hole test the lines that the conduit was gonna follow? Unless they're under a parking lot? I'm not sure how.
Is it paved? Is the parking lot paved?
It is paved, correct, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is there
it's
a
a
lot?
paved parking
Yeah.
lot.
And you're gonna go through the parking lot to put in the conduit? Or is that fresh soil to the side?
Yeah, it's in the parking lot there.
So I don't know how you would survey that unless you were on site.
And Commissioner Lockhart just pointed out that it is already disturbed. So-
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how I guess you disturb land pretty well to put in a parking lot, you grade it. And so if something's there, it's already been destroyed probably.
Yeah. Commissioner Dick, do you have any thoughts? Or any questions for the applicant?
No,
No.
you've all said my questions, so.
So just the discovery clause, I guess.
Yeah?
We
Pay
have to.
attention.
That's the only way, I think,
Okay.
because you
You
know.
couldn't see anything. You'd go
Yeah,
out there and
exactly.
you're looking at a parking lot.
Okay, so with that then, I will make a motion that no survey is required with the inclusion of the discovery clause in the conditions of approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, second. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is a yes. Okay, Mr. Cole, Mr. Gallagher, thank you very much. Liam will be in touch with you for the next steps. And then I think we're moving on to the next one, which is probably the same.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there's another project that's
okay.
very similar.
Alrighty, so then that was item number 3D.
This is Elk Cove. This is a different lodge, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay, moving on to case number 3E. Item number 3E, case number CDP 2023-0011. The owner is Gunderson Rock LLC. The applicant agent is Jeffrey Cole, MD. The request is a standard coastal development permit to install 5 electrical charging stations at the parking lot of the Elk Cove Inn. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately a quarter mile south of Elk, on the west side of State Route 1. It is addressed at 6300 South Highway 1, Little River, assessor parcel number 127-24007. And do we have anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item, or?
I don't see any hands raised for comments.
Is it paved?
Again, MD7 is the agent on this project. It's going to be very, very similar to the last electric vehicle charging stations, already a developed lot, similar trenching route and distance.
This one's a little bit different for the historic. They recommend not only a survey, but that there's a recorded historic era archaeological site and that a qualified archaeologist update
Yes. I
the
was
conditions
proud of that.
of the resource.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's above ground and
And it's also located right next to Greenwood Creek, with trails that lead down to the ocean.
yeah, so this was surveyed partly in 95 and 2001. And it said it's unclear as to whether they did the project area. So I would recommend a survey based on that and the historic, sending out a historic archaeologist to make sure that that it's been updated for 30 years or however. I'm not sure which report, 95 maybe, did the, yeah, it's got a recorded site on it.
And just for the record, we have Mr. Cole and Mr. Gallagher here who are the applicant agent for this project. Do you have access to those surveys? Mr. Cole, Mr. Gallagher?
So we've reached out to the NWIC to obtain those records. We're still in the process of getting those, but I think it could be another week or so before we have those records in hand.
Would it be helpful to have those in hand before making a decision?
I'm not sure. It may be that that the developers can resolve this themselves with contact with Sonoma State. You know, they may just have some very specific questions that somebody who's on site can answer, whether it's anything's changed, whether it's been altered, you know, without somebody being on site. But they want more archival and field study done. So I'm not sure if that's going to be specific to the charging stations. That may be like the last one where it's just through a parking lot and they're not going to alter any historic building that's there, so it's not really.
How far is it from the grocery store and the little businesses, the city of Elk?
Oh, I'm
Are we
not
in?
sure exactly. I think there's a.
It's, I think about 500 yards, maybe?
Yeah, it's not very far, maybe a quarter mile or so.
The reason I bring it up, I attended a behavioral health board meeting there about a year and a half ago. And I could sense things there.
Mr. Gallagher and Cole, how much ground disturbance is going to take place on this one? And is this going to be on a parking lot that's already been graded and created?
So where's that community building where people meet? Is it in here? Or
Let's take a look. So, the site's already been developed with those existing buildings, obviously. It looks like there's some boring going on in some landscaped areas, but that's about it.
But the locations of the charging stations themselves are already on an established parking lot, correct? That's paved.
Looks like a really desirable area.
Oh, yeah, I guess I can answer that. Yeah, it is. It is in the paved area, the existing.
Yeah.
Area,
No? Commissioner Dick, any thoughts on this one?
I'm just looking at the Google Maps right now because I don't know Elk at all. And it says there's already a Tesla charging station there. Is that true, or is that like this project that's going to be put in possibly? It says Tesla destination charger on the Google Maps right now.
Oh.
Unpermitted, maybe? I don't know.
Well, there are a number of resort facilities north of Elk, and it might be in one of those.
Yeah, I'm not aware of
Yeah.
that.
I'm not familiar with that either.
Okay. It might just be Google being
Google.
Google, but I was just curious because it said it.
And there's no removal of any structures? There won't be any?
No, there isn't anything else proposed as part of the project. It's just the charging stations.
Well, let's treat it like the last one. But I guess part of my concern is that from Sonoma State or from the Information Center, I think we need to have a little more input from them about how strongly they feel about their recommendations instead of yes, no.
Yeah.
That, excuse me, if I may respond,
Yes.
that irritates me. When I was reviewing this material, you know, the language is, there's always the assumption we're wrong and they're right. And again, with all due respect to all parties, whomever, wherever, whatever. But the point of the matter is that not all the activities and the conditions of my people have been recorded except in bits and pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's what's
That's what
SSU.
concerns me.
Yeah.
And I find it disrespectful, really, from my cultural perspective of the way I was raised by my parents. My mother was very culturally specific. She followed it, the letter of the law. Just don't get in the way of my mother.
That's private land ownership. You get, sometimes, you know, when you go through a federal agency like a forest or BLM or something, you get to do big, huge areas and you have a much better idea of the resources there because you get to look everywhere. You know, here it's like, you know, an acre here and another acre there and 3 acres here and but for this specific project, I suspect since they're not dealing with any buildings or anything like that, that no survey would be required.
I'm going to go with the point that this is being proposed, the thought of a qualified archaeologist, update the conditions, or just to be on site. I have a sense that there's something there that I need to know and they're not going to tell me because then I'll totally explode.
And
I don't know. But since I'm a spiritual person, I get sense things. And this is, so you know, if you'll all excuse me where I'm coming from, it's a reality check.
would those surveys from '95 be of any use? Or are they too old at this point? I mean, it might shed some light on.
Well, they recorded a site and they want to have, you know, the information center wants to have it updated. They don't say which survey recorded the site, whether it's 95 or 2001, but it's over 20, you know, 25, 35 years ago.
And it's not
And
listed.
unrecorded archaeological sites, it's a nice area, but I don't think they would be impacted particularly by this. If
Because
there was
it's-
one there, it's already
Yeah,
been destroyed.
it's developed.
That's the other point. That's the other side of the coin, you know.
So what I was saying earlier is that updating the site could be done by a phone call perhaps. You know, it's not a qualified archaeologist, but it could be nobody's touched that building in 30 years kind of thing. It looks exactly like it did, or, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a historic archaeologist, so I'm not sure what specific
I understand what you're saying.
things they want to look at. They might be able to tell with a photograph, or maybe they're just remnants of a foundation that are there. I don't really know.
And this is a point we could discuss next month when we have our gap.
Yes, I agree. Well, do we have a motion?
So you feel like it should have somebody
I
else?
could live with it if we accept this with it.
Discovery?
But then again,
in
the other
moving forward in
side,
the
I
future.
really, you know, but again, if our friends who is keeping track of this information, Sonoma State, would be more involved, I should say, instead of just oh, well, go find that file number so-and-so and just print it and send it to, fax it to somebody or whatever, email, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did we reach this, what were the steps and what was it exactly?
Well, I think that would be the responsibility of the applicant, because we couldn't request any of the surveys they
Right,
have.
no, but.
We could or we couldn't?
We couldn't, the applicant could, the owner of the property
Oh.
would have to request
I
that.
guess I'm saying, what troubles me is there is not more specific information leading up to. It's sort of like roll the dice.
Right.
I'm not a gambler, I don't know, but that term just came to me like, whoop, throw
Well,
it out there, we'll see what happens.
My feeling is no survey.
Okay. Why don't you make a motion?
So what do you think?
I'll make the motion.
I have nothing to say.
I'll make a motion, no survey required with the discovery clause as a condition of approval. Second?
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay, good.
I'll live with it,
Okay.
I know the guy in
Did you?
charge upstairs, so.
Did you second?
Yeah,
Second,
I'll
Commissioner
second.
Lockhart, okay. Okay, roll call then. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is a yes. Okay, no survey required, condition of approval for discovery clause. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher and Mr. Cole.
Thank you for your
All right,
patience.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right. That brings us to item number 4, review of survey. The first item we have is case number CDP 2022-0027. The owner applicant is Penelope and Daniel Alaya. The agent is Newberger and Associates. The request is an administrative coastal development permit to construct a single-family residence. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately 1.6 miles south of Little River and 500 feet east of the intersection of State Route 1 and Carson Hill Road. It is addressed at 33850 Carson Hill Road in Little River. Assessor parcel number is 121-14012. And do we have anyone wishing to speak from the public on this item?
I don't see any hands raised from the public, but I do have the owner and the agent.
Oh, okay. So that looks like Penelope Alaya and Todd Newberger.
It's just Penny.
Okay, Penny and Todd Newberger. Okay, do you have anything to say about the project before we bring it back to the commission for discussion?
No, I don't think so. I found the survey extremely interesting. I'll say that. Thank you for your diligence.
Thank you. Mr. Newberger, any?
No, I'm all alone.
Oh, you are, okay.
No comment, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, I'll note for the record, we have planner Dirk Larson here. Do you have anything to say?
I'm just here to support the applicant,
Okay.
yes.
So then bring it back to commissioners for discussion.
So they didn't find anything. What I'm looking for is the management recommendations. So here we go.
What page is that on?
14. Poor ground visibility, only 10%. And I don't know, 32 shovel pits in 5 acres. But I wasn't there. I'm willing to accept the conclusion. Just a discovery clause, I guess.
Looks like what they're recommending.
They don't suggest that certain areas be avoided or altered. As presently designed, the project is not expected to have an adverse effect on cultural resources. So I would accept the.
I'm offended by this language.
Who's that?
On page 14, right in the minute. Will not cause a blah, 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 blah.
Can I add something? I might add that this lot was disturbed back when the subdivision was created. there's been a big retaining wall here, and they did some contouring down through this area. Now, this is the area of the site up here, and I think that's predominantly where the survey occurred, and the ground disturbance.
And it has already been disturbed.
Yeah, and we also had, this was reviewed back in the 90s, and Sonoma State at that time also suggested low probability, just to add to it.
Was that prior to the disturbance?
I think at the time of the disturbance, when the subdivision was created.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are any trees being removed?
I don't think so, but the applicant can probably speak to that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Are any trees being removed, Ms. Alaya, for the project?
There is a dead tree to the south, and we're looking at doing that one. But I happen to be a tree hugger, and I am rather opposed to removing trees. Although it seems to me that a lot of folks in your area think getting an ocean view is a big deal, but quite frankly, I love looking at trees.
Great, Commissioner Dick, any thoughts, questions, the applicant or agent?
No, Alta usually does a pretty good job with their hoarding. Oh, you ran away.
I agree with that, yes. Well,
Just the discovery clause, sounds like there's gonna be a lot of subsurface disturbance, you know, I mean, they're talking about gas lines and water lines and tree removals, electrical lines, pump house, septic tank. So there will be ground disturbance, whether it affects land that hasn't already been disturbed.
well, that's what my notes say too. Agree. I think accepting with the discovery clause would be sufficient.
Okay.
Commissioner Lockhart, any thoughts?
Here's the lot.
Well,
This is where the majority.
This is 5 acres.
Yeah, I think this is the
But
entire lot.
I'm
so it's
disturbed
kind
by
of
that.
occurring in this
On
area
page
here.
16, the letter, the correspondence from Sherwood
And where
Valley
do you
Ranch
think it was
area,
graded?
you know,
Well,
it's
I
kinda
think
hard to do
the
that.
retaining wall is up in this area, and I think just below the site is where it was
If it's
contoured.
included for documentation to support their perspective of not having a survey, at least should be able to read it.
I missed that. What were you commenting on?
Yeah,
It's the email to Sherwood Valley.
really not very readable.
It's the
I
first
don't know if
page
it's
of
done in
the,
colored paper or what.
It's from the tribal?
It's from the tribe, yeah.
Oh, I saw one. I think it's a little clearer maybe here.
You can hardly see
The
it.
Native American Heritage Commission?
no, this is an email.
Oh, it's the one behind it, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's asking about the boring.
May I address the geological borings?
Yes, please.
When I spoke to Brunsing, when it was Juliana that had first told us we would need this survey, she suggested that I contact Brunsing to see if when they did the borings, they were monitoring what they were doing. And I do have an email from the geologists out there that said they were, very, very careful to look at all of those borings. Is that answering your question about the geological borings?
Is that something that should be part of the permitted process, that the work was done and the analysis of it?
Or the borings? Or you,
Well, I think in response to the letter you referred to, reached out to the geologist who said, absolutely, we pay attention to that. And if we saw anything,
Oh, okay.
we would bring that to your attention for sure.
But there's no particular official report from that?
I don't think from him that I saw. I mean, Penny may have something.
The geological report is all part of the CDP at this application at this point.
Absolutely.
And then I have that additional reassurance from Brunsing about the borings.
Okay.
Well, I will make a motion then to accept the survey for CDP 2022-0027 with the inclusion of the discovery clause as a condition of approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is a yes. Motion carries. Survey is accepted with the addition of the discovery clause. Thank you, Ms. Alaya, Mr. Newberger.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thanks, Dirk. Okay, moving on, item number 4B. This is case number CDP 2022-0040. The owner applicant is Callie Nim. The agent is Amy Wynn from Wynn Coastal Planning and Biology. The request is the development of a 5-unit inn ancillary to the Little River Inn, consisting of 5 cabins, 1 guest welcome center, 1 event patio, 1 housekeeping structure, parking, walkways, landscaping, and ground and roof mounted solar panels. Also a septic, connection to existing well, installation and connection to 2 2,500-gallon water tanks, and propane generator on neighboring Van Dam parcel. Associated grading and reroute and extended existing driveway. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately 70 feet southwest of Little River Town Center, lying on the west side of State Route 1, approximately 780 feet from its intersection with Little River Airport. It is addressed at 7720 North Highway 1 in Little River. Assessor parcel number is 121-28015. And do we have, excuse me, anyone from the public wishing to speak on this?
I have a hand raised by Megan Durbin at WCPB.
Okay. Hello, Megan.
Hi, this is Megan Durbin, Senior Planner with Wynn Coastal Planning and Biology, agent for the applicant. I want to thank county staff and the commissioners for their time today, and I'm just here if there are any questions.
Great, thank you. The planner is not in attendance, so we will then bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Okay, so I'm trying to review this. My notes say that they recommend a second survey. This one, oh, and it was conducted?
Yeah, yes, that's what my
Okay.
notes say.
The first one was in 1988.
Yes, Megan, again, we submitted the survey with our CDP application, survey completed by Alta, and that survey report is dated March 17th, 2022.
So it says it has area contains unrecorded buildings or structures. So those weren't considered to be historic, I guess, during the I mean, doesn't say that they recorded them. So they're not that old, I guess. It's a little vague. The proposed project area contains unrecorded buildings or structures.
The only structures on the property are a very simple barn. There used to be some horses kept there, and now there are some goats kept there that help with fire resiliency. So it is a relatively small, very simple, barn is probably a glorified term for the structure that is there. And there is also a water storage tank that has already been there.
But now those will be disturbed during this development.
No, those are going to stay.
Thanks.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of ground disturbance.
Yeah.
Between construction and grading and driveways and septic and stuff. I'm just not sure So where's the second survey? Where's the one that was done? This is only referring to the 1988 one. It says April 2023, but they recommend a qualified archaeologist conduct further archival and field study, and I guess they did that?
Well, we
They
have,
did. Go ahead, Mark, excuse me.
the survey is dated March of 22.
Well, we don't, do we have that information?
Yes, right there.
Oh, this, okay. Okay, so this is
That's,
not up to date with this. Doesn't look like it.
no, that is,
This is April and they didn't have the report yet,
that's right,
probably.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this project recently changed county planners, so maybe there was some disconnect in that.
Or the paperwork's just not, not up to date at
Right.
the Information Center, right? So good ground exposure and so they didn't find anything. They
No.
don't really state that, but there's nothing that they say, so.
On page 3 of the report, pardon me, I was at that page and then scrolled through. Page 3 of the PDF, page 1 of, page number 1 of the report, summary of findings, no cultural resources were identified and is not anticipated to have an adverse effect. Under the first section, summary of findings.
And it looks like they're recommending the standard discovery clause.
Yeah, was this, trying to see, is this the one that, oh, this is the standard group from Santa Rosa. I'm interested, there was one report done for another project that was at that farther away company, and it's just,
that one. Yeah.
it's organized differently. I was just curious. Well, I'm willing to accept the survey with a discovery clause if they've done 2 and they haven't found anything, and they did what the Information Center requested, which was conduct a second one, so.
Okay,
That's,
Commissioner Dick, Commissioner Lockhart, any thoughts?
Oh, it's so muddled up already.
Commissioner Dick?
No.
No? Okay, then I would like to make a motion then based on Commissioner Johnson to accept the survey with the discovery clause. Do I have a second?
Lockhart second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Lockhart. Do roll call, Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
And PBS is a yes. Okay, survey is accepted. The discovery clause applies. Thank you very much, Megan.
Thank all of you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
You too, bye. Okay, that brings us to item number, 4C. This is case number CDP 2023-0003. The owner is Don and Julia Saleri.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm on a different one. Oh, no, it is.
Yeah, okay. The applicant is the city of Fort Bragg.
That's what confused me. I would think that the owner would be the city of Fort Bragg.
The city of Fort Bragg is
A water line through the city.
the City of Fort Bragg Public Works Department proposes a raw water line replacement project to replace major portions of the city's main raw water supply pipeline. The proposed project would construct almost 2 miles of raw water pipeline that is reaching the end of its service life. A portion of the project crosses through the coastal zone before and after crossing into Noyo River floodplain. Project application documents. I will just leave that alone. The location is starting from Fort Bragg City Center heading 377 feet north toward East Pine, turning left 203 feet at the first cross street into East Pine Street, then turning left again at the first cross street onto California State Highway 1 and Main Street, and then continuing 1.8 miles, then turning left onto State Highway 20 east into Fort Bragg, Willits Road for 2.1 miles, then turning left onto Summers Lane for 0.8 miles. It's various addresses. This is happening in the city of Fort Bragg. Okie dokie. Is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak on this?
Looks like we have Diane.
Hi, this is Diane O'Connor from the city of Fort Bragg.
Hi Diane, welcome, thank you. Do you have anything to add before the commission discusses the project?
Oh, mostly I'm here to answer questions. That starting point at Summers Lane is the beginning of the project, and it crosses from there most of the way into Fort Bragg.
Okay.
So it's on multiple properties. The Solaris just happened to be the first address on the list.
Okay. Oh, gotcha, okay. Thank you.
Your application isn't really set up for projects of quite this scope.
Yes, yes, and I was finding reading the location a little difficult because there were many of them.
So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Although the exhibits and the maps do help greatly, so if you've got those, they'll show you where exactly this all goes through. And I will note for the record too, we have Planner Summerford here as well, who is the planner for this project. Do you have anything to add before we start discussing this?
I do not. Thank you so much. But I am also available for questions, but I feel Diane is probably the best person to answer them. Thanks, Mark.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the commission for discussion. This one has a lot of things on it.
So the information center says that they recommended a survey, and that survey has been conducted, I guess.
Correct, and that is attached.
I agree.
You agree?
That is survey. Even though they're basically repairing, but they're adding to the line already. It just, this whole thing just stirs my spirit.
Diane, the survey, when is it dated? Sorry. April 23, okay, so it's just recent. Okay.
Yeah, I have winter 2021, 2022. The survey and records search. We've done a lot of surveys in the area. I would imagine that there are lots of sites in the area, but whether or not they're going to hit them going through with a trench, I don't know.
Right.
Considering that whole area was really basically a killing site, killing for land, tribal people running and back and forth, and that was the site prior to Fort Bragg being established as a city of Fort Bragg. Tribal people were trying to run away from their captors, and they were all being shot in the back.
Oh, this is the one on.
So that's why I say that whole area from McCarricker Beach or Cleone into Fort Bragg and then down to the harbor, you don't know what you're going to find. And you know, again, with due respect and so on and so forth, that it's just be cautious, be careful, you know, don't take it for granted.
Yes, I'm sorry, Diane.
I do have a letter from the Sherwood Valley Band of Pomo Indians stating that they agreed with what was in the M&D at the time, and that they have requested the government-to-government consultation and a cultural monitor to be present, if that alleviates some of your concerns.
No, that would be nice.
That would be.
Yes, because it's kind of like the one we did with the city of Mendocino a few months ago, where There's sites all over the place. They might not have found, evidence in a particular shovelful, but they're there. And in 2 miles,
Yeah.
so having a monitor would be wonderful.
Susan?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate that, the city of Fort Bragg, as Diane said, they've reached out, they've done these surveys, and as you both have very astutely pointed out, it's a large swath of area that a lot of activity was occurring. That's why they're going to have monitors on site, and this is kind of, the best practices management before shovels start going. And of course, the discovery clause is in act. Of course, it's applicable, but I think with the monitors on site and the work that's already been done, we might need to let them continue with this really important project.
Well, I think it's great that the monitors are going to be on site. And is that through initial ground disturbance or the entire project, or when will they be present?
From the note I have, it says during ground disturbance. Can you confirm that?
I can confirm that they've requested a government-to-government consultation as the project becomes reality, and the Sherwood Valley Tribe have a tribally appointed cultural monitor on site during earth movement.
I didn't see that letter. Is it in here?
Is that letter in here? I was looking for that too.
No.
Oh, it's not.
It's paperwork, hasn't caught up probably.
Well,
Can
we can make
request
that
some?
condition. We just put that as a condition of approval.
Yeah, and the monitor. has-
It absolutely, I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, it absolutely will be included as a condition of approval. The entitlement hearing has yet to be scheduled. We're also working on an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration in which these comments that are being required here can be captured as part of the mitigation and monitoring program that would be ongoing for the project.
Okay.
Excuse me, may I make
Yes.
a comment?
Yes.
As an enrolled member of Sherwood Valley Rancheria, I would request that the city of Fort Bragg understand the importance of a government-to-government consultation and express my concern that the letter from Sherwood Valley Tribe is not in the documentation for me to review for this meeting. That disturbed me.
Diane, is that
Real
something?
recent.
That
was an oversight on my part, and I apologize.
Is that something that you could email to us quickly? And
I can email it to you at the moment if you would like.
That'd be great. Why don't you actually email it to Susan and she can forward it to Jocelyn, and then we will have that here. So we can just maybe take a. What we'll do is we'll just continue this then until we'll move on to our next item, and then we'll come back to this when the email arrives. Is that acceptable?
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll continue this then until after item number 4D. So let's move on to item 4D.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to say that I like this report from this archaeological consult company. That's not the one that usually is responding to this area. It's just different information. There's a lot more information about contact, the historical contact, and how that affected different things. And that it wasn't just the boilerplate, Frederickson's. I mean, they had that in there, but they had a lot more stuff, and I liked it. It was nice.
What you call a filler.
Well, we were talking about that before you got here, that for us, it's like real repetitive. But for each specific report, it's got a, it's useful.
Yeah.
It's useful. I wish I had been able to read one of these when I was a student, because it's nice summaries of all this information, instead of making you go and find it yourself. It's just different. It was just different, and you could tell it was just different people writing it.
Oh, the one from Caltrans, we never did get that. Remember? No, it was when Sam was here. They had whole pages blocked out, so we couldn't, and I said, oh, hey, wait a minute. I call for executive action here. I call for it.
Okay, well, let's move on then to item 4D. This is case number CDP 2023-0009. Owner is James A. D'Alba, and the applicant is Jim and Denise D'Alba. The agent is Tara Jackson from Wind Coastal Planning. The request is to construct a 1,802 square foot single-family dwelling with attached 836 square foot garage, 297 square feet of decks, a septic system, demolition of one existing well, and trenching for connection from the single-family dwelling to the other existing well, trenching to connect to grid power, extend existing driveway and parking area by 2,942 square feet, convert existing legal non-conforming 475 square foot cabin into an accessory dwelling unit. The location is in the coastal zone, approximately 2.2 miles north of Casper Town Center on a public easement off the south side of Pacific Way, the north side of Little Lake Road, and east of its intersection with Ocean Drive. Project is addressed at 33389 Pacific Way in Fort Bragg. And do we have anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
It looks like I have Alvin Kleinman.
Oh, okay.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Aviv Kleinman, Senior Planner with Wind Coastal Planning Biology. I am representing the project now. Tara is no longer with our company. She's in Arkansas now. And thank you, commissioners and staff, for your time, and I'm here for any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kleinman. All right, I'll bring that then back to the commission for discussion and comments and questions to Mr. Kleinman, if any.
So this is the one where they didn't find a site on the property, but they found one right at the property line.
Yes.
On an adjacent property.
Yes.
And also ground surface visibility was 10% or less. So this is about 2.68 acres.
That is...
And is this all new development?
There is currently an existing cabin on the site, which is not going to be affected, but the SFR, single family residence, and the septic system will be newly installed.
Okay.
And I will say that Alta, the surveyors, did recommend the discovery clause.
Right. Yeah, there's, when you have a site that's like right on your property line, that's a midden, which is a lot more an established presence than just a hunting camp or something like that. And you have low visibility, it gives me a low confidence in the survey possibilities. I think there's a lot that could have been missed, so the discovery clause would be really important, I think.
And the intervals were 20 meters.
Yeah, that's like 80, every 80 feet, they put a shovel in the ground, so.
Is this all flat ground or is it rock? Because from the picture, it looks like some of it might be like rocky incline, or is it all flat? Just out of
The portion by the bluff is rocky bluff, but the rest of it is flat.
There's no tree removal for this, right, Aviv?
I don't believe that there is. I believe that the septic field is in an area with no trees, and same with the SFR. There may be one or two. There are a few in the development footprint, but not beyond.
And will stumps remain, or trees just going to come down, or are they going to be removing stumps as well?
I believe that they would need to remove them for development in the development footprint.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a comment.
Yes.
I want to call our attention to page 16 under management recommendations. The anticipated discovery of cultural resources.
Oh.
A qualified professional archaeologist should be contacted to evaluate the situation.
Well, that's always the issue with the discovery clause, is does somebody even recognize the discovery? And how focused is all the ground disturbance? Is this all going to happen within a 1 month period, or is this, you know, stretched? I mean, depending on finances, people can drag these things out for 2 or 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Another point that concerns me is that on the neighboring parcel outside of the project area, there's a site.
Yeah. So it's very close. They said that somebody put in a fence and they could see the soil on the property line where the other midden was. And they did shovel tests.
It just amazes me how they always manage to keep their foot just right here when that takes great concentration.
Yeah.
It's like walking. There's quicksand over there, but don't go there. But then, what if you fall in it? Well, I don't know. You just be careful.
Yeah, and the main reason why they weren't able to survey the midden area was because it was on private property adjacent, which they didn't have.
Right, you can't go do that. I don't think there's too many options. You can't say go back and do it again and dig more holes or scrape more land. You just can do the discovery clause.
Well, we could, I mean, we could not accept the survey and have them come back with something more intense. Where was the mitten mount found? On which parcel? To the north or south?
South.
South.
Just to the south. Yeah, and we'll certainly be sure to educate the client on the discovery clause.
Do you know how long ground disturbance will take? Will it be done in one concentrated amount of time, or is it going to just go piecemeal?
I'm not entirely sure about their development timeline. I think they probably need to. It'll probably be all at once for the foundation and then septic.
Okay. Okay, well,
thank you.
Commissioner Dick, any comments or questions?
Thank you.
No, I don't have any.
Well,
I guess accept it with a discovery clause.
yeah. And Aviva, you were saying that you were going to be training the contractors on what to look for?
We'll be sure to communicate the discovery clause to the client and make sure that they're well aware. And we can make sure that they communicate that to the contractors.
Lois, thoughts?
I mean, what our other options are to either require somebody to be on site, and that doesn't sound like it's a very focused, you know, it's not a company coming in and working just at a particular time, or do it again and move a lot more soil, or accept what is already done.
Well, I'd like to make a motion then to,
How deep is the septic system going to be?
Viv, how deep will they be going for the septic?
Septic system. It's generally within 3 to 5 feet.
Oh, 3 to 5 feet, okay.
How much?
3 to 5 feet? Is that for the leach field or the septic?
The tank, probably.
Yeah, it's 3 feet for the leach field. And the septic tank, I think it's around the same. And I will make sure to personally explain to the clients, the sacredness of shell middens and what their meaning is for the general area. The tank will be deeper, but that will be at the house.
Where is the house within this parcel? Can you generally, is it at the very edge of the coast, looking at the ocean?
It's not at the very edge. So I'm looking at the site plan. It's about
Oh, okay.
Right there.
It's almost kind of dead center, but closer to the south. I see.
Yeah,
Is that
and
what the
they've
number
done
is?
plenty of test pits in the locations of development. That's was one of the aspects that the surveyor made sure of, was to check the specific areas where there will be development.
And it looks like it's a distance from the recorded site to the south. That's closer to the coastline, is it not?
Right.
I'm looking at the southern border and I see some test pits and I'm assuming those are close to where the midden was.
recorded site
The midden was in
is
here.
right in here.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if that's exactly where it was. Where on the southern parcel, Viv, was the midden recorded? Was it?
That I don't know, because that's what is it?
I bet it's that one.
It's archaeological data that's not publicly.
Because they talked about, I'm sorry, they talked about checking the fence line and that they could see the soil, and I'm sure that's probably as close to, they got as close to the midden as they could within the property parcel boundary, and I bet that's it. So it looks like the house is actually a fair distance away from that.
We've been down that road before, our commission a couple of years ago. They totally ignored what we requested.
Okay.
Well, then I'm going to make a motion to accept the survey with the condition of the discovery clause included.
And God help you.
Well,
Or God help them.
have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded.
I'm a soldier.
Commissioner Lockhart.
I'll go along.
All right, roll call then. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
And PBS is a yes. Motion carries. Survey is accepted with the discovery clause included. All right, thank you, Viv.
Thank you. And like I said, I personally have tremendous respect for the sacredness of middens and other sacred sites. So I will personally make sure that the client is aware.
All right, thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna stick this loose one just in the packet.
Okay. So we will come now back to item number 4C, CDP 2023-0003. And we have the letter now from Sherwood Valley Band of Pomo Indians.
If I can add, Susan is going to share her screen, and I did send a copy over to Lindsay as well.
Oh, great. Thank you, Susan. So here's the letter, and that's in front of you.
Can everyone see it well enough?
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, well, this sure says it all.
So Lois, my question to you is a cultural monitor trained as a monitor?
As far as I know, the tribe at one point in time received funding from the Tribal Parks and Recreation, or whatever the entity was, to set up a THP. But then I'm not really sure where they're at to this point in time. But Valerie donates a lot of her time.
Well, I know that, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been on digs, but we had monitors in the 80s, and 70s and 80s and 90s, so I would assume that had
But
kept
remember, this area
moving forward.
was terminated for something like 14 years, almost 20 years.
Oh, the tribes were terminated?
And had to,
but...
Then had to claw our way back to being Indian again.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would matter. I think that the archaeologists would just routinely have a tribal monitor. They wouldn't worry about whether or not.
Depends on central agency staffing, depends on Pacific region staffing in Sacramento, depends on what's going on in the Department of Interior.
Yeah, I don't remember it being that formal, but
the local tribes, and specifically Sherwood, has fought to have a desk. In fact, Sherwood's been, Misty Cook originally made contact with the city of Fort Bragg because they were raised in that area. Misty and Valerie, the Stanley, Misty Cook, they were raised at the old reservation site there.
So I guess my question is, these people would be qualified. They wouldn't just be.
They were trained, yes.
They were trained for the specific
Right,
archaeological.
to know what to look for.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better with this letter.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dick, any thoughts?
No, the letter helps.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Then I would like to make a motion then to go ahead and accept the survey with the inclusion of the discovery clause and the condition that the tribal monitor will be present as stated in the letter here.
I second it.
Okay, so motion PBS, second Commissioner Johnson. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
And PBS is a yes. Okay, thank you, Diane and Susan, very much, and thanks for your patience.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, and that brings us to item number 4A, which is the last project. We do have the applicant here, so I'm going to run out and grab them real quick.
I can grab them if you
Oh,
want.
okay. And then I'll go ahead and
So
start.
I just have a general question. Is there any teeth in the discovery clause?
Well, it's there.
But I mean, let's say they don't do it. They see stuff and they just keep going.
Exactly.
Is anybody gonna ever call them on that, or if somebody noticed that, hey, you guys just went through an archaeological site, do they get a fine? Do they have to stop all work and bring somebody? I mean, there's
Well,
nobody around watching.
Like, who's watching?
They are supposed to stop all
Who's
work.
paying attention?
But this is something that we can go ahead and I will agendize this for
Here's my friend from the
further
parking lot.
discussion.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any, I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice, but I
Yeah.
don't know if there's any teeth in
And it
it.
still hasn't been fixed, has it?
Okie dokie. Moving on. Hi.
Hi, how
Welcome.
you doing?
Good.
Yes, thank you.
So we have the last case, item number 4E, case number UM 2022-0001. Owner applicant is Mendocino Onsen Corporation. The agent is James Williams. The request is completion of use permit number UM 25-88/2001 on assessor parcel number 149-27031. This is to include renovations to the main lodge at Orr Hot Springs, 2 resort units, 2 new rental units, renovation of greenhouse building, and replacement of single resort unit with duplex resort unit. New projects on assessor parcel number 149-270-31 will include bridge onto Orr Springs Road. Assessor parcel number 149-27029 will include 2 new staff housing units, a new owner unit, food service building and maintenance, and laundry service building. All projects will include associated infrastructure, for example, electric, septic, well, parking, fire suppression, and encroachments. The project is located approximately 10 miles northwest of the city of Ukiah, lying on the south side of Orr Springs Road. which is approximately 9 miles west of this intersection with North State Street. It is addressed at 13201 War Springs Road in Ukiah. Assessor parcels numbers 149-27029 and 149-27031. And do we have anyone from the public online wishing to speak?
I don't see any hands raised from the public wishing to speak on this item.
Okay. And please state your name for the record.
All right, my name is Jim Barrett, and I'm a consultant to the project. Leslie had to leave. I'm sorry that he's not here. So we appeared before you, 3 or 4 months ago, and you required a survey, and
Correct.
we obtained a survey, and which you have in your possession today. As you can note in your in the survey that nothing was found, and therefore no recommendations have been made by the archaeologist.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I would like to note that the summary of the findings, maybe I missed that, on page, it's right inside that cover page, that an hour was spent in the field. And
What
this
page is
is
that on?
almost 8 acres. It's right behind the cover pages.
It
So,
should be the third or fourth page.
it's an
Oh, the
I.
survey findings, okay.
And the synopsis down below, you know, that it's 7.7 acres, field hours, 1 person, an hour.
Right.
That's not very much, although I'm not sure what the terrain is. Is it all, yeah, that's what I was
It's
thinking.
steep other than what the,
Pretty
what we
steep,
call,
isn't it?
yeah, the pony field was the flatter area where most of this activity is already taking place. And so that, what they indicated to us was that they looked at all of the area that was going to be impacted by the development. So that's all, you know, we just hire them and.
And everything else was hillsides, basically?
Yes, it is. You know, it's wooded. I wish I had some photos. We did have.
Oh, we've got a lot of, actually, we have a lot of stuff.
Well, we had aerial photos also done by, you know, one of the little.
The drones?
Yes, drones, but quite frankly, they didn't turn out very well. They, you know, on steep property, everything sort of flattens out, so you
Right.
can't, you know. you
Well,
can't-
the woman seems very qualified. I looked, you know, at her, and I know Tom Origer, he's
Yeah.
certainly a very, so I'm just assuming that you look at the USGS map, that it's just, it was like basically
Yeah.
just a steep hillside that they couldn't even do.
They've done a great job for us in all the past projects, and we've had them even when not required to come in and be there whenever we're doing trenching for utilities or anything of that nature. So they're very reliable and accessible whenever you can, you know, get them over and get them to do the job.
And I've been out to the site. Much of it is already disturbed. I mean, a lot of this is
That
gonna be
was my
happening.
next question. So
Yeah.
you're basically sort of churning up an area that's already been churned up to modernize it or improve it?
Yes, that's the plan. He's adding some housing for employees, and much of what was is to be done was still yet to be done under the old 2008, was it?
98, 2001.
Yeah. Use permit. And so as with everything else, things move slowly, and so that's his plan. This all won't be done overnight. You know, it'll be a staged activity.
So you've been out there? and
Yes, I
walked
have.
it over.
Well,
Okay.
I'm the planner on the project, so
Oh,
I did
okay.
do a site visit, and the majority of the work is on a portion of the resort that is already well developed.
Yes.
And there is a small portion on the north side of Ore Springs Road It currently has some storage tanks on it, but is rather small.
Right.
It's a very small area.
Yeah.
So why was this originally picked? Is it like the only flat area along the creek? I mean, not this project, but if it's so steep, it's because there's hot springs there, right?
Yes.
Is that the resort?
Yes.
And so people just went in and started cutting away hillsides and stuff in order to put in the resorts?
Well, they haven't cut away any, done any grading on the hillsides.
So originally there's a natural flat area.
There's little flat areas here and there, sort of nestled in this sort of crevasse of a valley that's there. But it doesn't look like there was a whole lot of grading done.
No, there
at any
hasn't
point,
been
even
grading
historically.
done, no. Well, this resort is probably 100 and some odd years old.
It's as old as me.
Yeah, well, you're not that old.
Well, I would say that.
I'm getting close, but you're not.
I mean, it may be long destroyed, but, if the Europeans found these hot springs to be wonderful, the Native Americans have been using them for, thousands of
May I
years.
inject a little
Yes,
history?
please.
My mother
Yeah.
told me this story. I was raised at Pinoleville Rancheria, just down the road. So, in the old days, prior to civilization, we were uncivilized, but for the elder people who had, I guess you would call it, rheumatism
Arthritis,
today,
yeah.
that's where they went. There and to Vichy Springs, and then to the geysers. So eventually, and this is the story my dad, Chief Lankea, told me that in more modern times, property was bought and Ore Springs was developed. So it's been there a long time, but tribal people didn't really spend much time there except to go in and sit in the warm waters.
It wasn't a
and
resident,
then
nobody lived
leave.
there.
So it wasn't really an area that was, so it was just sort of like, I guess you could call it a spa
Yeah.
type of situation.
Was it open to anybody, any tribe in the area that wanted
People who
to?
knew about it, mostly tribal people used it.
Well, I would think that if there was any evidence of any occupation, prehistoric occupation, it's been long.
Well, way back
long
when,
destroyed.
the tribal people were very cautious about who was invited. And then when Ukiah began to get incorporated, or the government began to set in place, then the whole environment changed.
Yes.
And there's no historic sites that are considered to be significant?
Well, all of the buildings that exist there are over 45 years old, so they could probably be put on the list. But they're
Well, the archaeologists would have done that, though, I mean, if they
Yeah.
surveyed it.
Well, I think you have to petition to put on the list.
They have none, fines, none. So
But
either
there-
they didn't look at the historic, or they didn't consider them to be,
Yeah, there are no springs on the area that we're moving into now, or that we've utilized. There's none on that north side of the road. Any springs are all, located back over in the development that's been there.
Commissioner Dick, any questions or thoughts on this one?
No, we'd just like to go ahead and move on forward with the project in incremental, stages. That's really it.
Okay.
I accept the survey. It's certainly a known site. If there was anything important, they would have paid attention to it,
It's a
I'm
lot of
surprised there's
hunting
no
and fishing.
historical.
Further closer down toward where the tribal land is, so where your project is, like about there, in Pinoleville Rancheria is here. But I know my family, my father, my brothers, always went up that we call Windy Point, and did a lot of hunting, and then fishing the creek coming down in past Canoga Rancheria.
Okay.
So it's a lot of good history there, but not really a camping situation.
So do you want to make that into a motion, Commissioner Johnson?
Accept the survey.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to
With the
accept the
discovery
survey
clause.
with inclusion of the discovery clause.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Do I have a second?
I'll take that.
I'll second.
Commissioner Lockhart first. Then roll call, Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart,
Aye.
and PBS is a yes. Survey is accepted with the inclusion of the discovery clause. Okay,
Very
thank you,
good.
Mr. Barrett.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Sorry that
waiting.
he had to leave, but he,
Well, thank you for waiting.
oh,
You
that's
were last.
no problem.
Well, you were cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, until I get out.
What's the
in my
temperature
truck.
outside now, I wonder?
Wait till Saturday if you're not
Yeah.
warm enough now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Helen here.
Okay, we'll see you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And I'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
That's the next steps.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, now moving on to item number 5 then, matters from staff. I do have a couple notes. I think they're pretty, I just wanted as a reminder, Brian Mutch from Sonoma State will be here next month. I'd like to agendize some of the items that you brought up, some of
So
those questions.
we'll have our regular applications.
We'll have
and
our
then-
regular
And then
applications.
he's gonna follow?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can have a
So
discussion.
it could be a pretty long one, pretty long session.
Yeah, have you got any idea how many projects are on for next month?
For next month, right now, I don't have any.
Oh.
Okay.
So, okay, that's all I have.
So what were some of the items, because I talk all the time, so I'm trying to remember.
We wanted to talk about the conditions of approval, which Planning Commission has recently amended our recommended condition. There were 2 projects where the commission recommended archaeologists be present, and Planning Commission changed that to just a tribal monitor. So we would want to discuss moving forward how we want to craft those conditions.
How do they have authority over us?
They do. It just escalates up, and if that should be appealed, then it goes to the Board of Supervisors, who then has authority.
Could we see that in writing?
Yeah.
Or do we get a chance to argue about it with anything?
With the commission?
If it went to the Board of Supervisors, could you go in there if you really felt strongly about a project and argue with them?
I believe they do have a red line version of that as well, with
Yeah.
their changes.
I can bring those in to show you what they've done, but they've essentially, they struck out the archaeologist part, that an archaeologist be present, and just have a tribal monitor present.
What bothers me about the planning commission, and I really couldn't pay too much attention to them because I didn't have the time when I was working in the private sector, but when I retired and got involved, and I really ran into it like head on with our own family property at Pinoleville Rancheria, when the planning commission deemed that whole area industrial.
Oh, and they didn't contact you?
Oh, yeah.
And you were a landowner, yeah.
And I'm saying, then we have all these, like what do you call it, where they dump all these cars and, what do they call it?
Oh, like the
Wreckage,
junkyard?
like a
Oh,
wreckage
yeah.
yard. And it's still out there, it's like yuck. But in fact, the whole place is looking yucky, to tell you the truth. Sure not what it was when I was growing up.
If I can add, part of the reason Planning Commission did it, part of the reasoning is saying that it was due to costs for the applicant owners.
Yeah, it's very
So
expensive.
that's why.
And so, what did tribal monitors mean?
Don't know, I think that's something that we could discuss.
I mean,
next time.
I agree, and that's part of the feeling is like, you'd really like somebody with some knowledge to be watching. And I'm happy to have it be a tribal monitor. It's like, I don't know if this is very tactful, but killing 2 birds with 1 stone, you get.
It bothers me too.
You satisfy the archaeology part, and you satisfy the tribe. Because if there was something then
Who
it would
knows?
move, it would move from there. You know, they're not gonna say, oh, okay. If somebody's watching and there's a site that gets uncovered, then it would move into a whole nother phase of,
And we've learned that. Remember the Greenfield Ranch fiasco?
No, I think that was before I came on.
Human remains were found. The archaeologist puts it in a shoebox and puts it under his bed. Nobody finds it until he dies of a heart
Oh,
attack.
That's right. And then they brought them into an art commission meeting. Yes, I remember that story. I was not here for that, but I recall.
Bill told me the story.
Wow.
well, I remember, I was working, in the field when they were putting the freeway up to, between Cloverdale and Hopland. They were widening it.
Oh, yeah.
And we found human remains, not much, some teeth, and I think a toe bone or something, and they moved the whole road over.
Oh, well,
know?
we can definitely discuss these things because that brings us, one of the other items was training for tribal monitors. And then the other items you brought up today were the possibility of doing multiple surveys at one
A
time.
follow-up.
And
Well, if they're talking about
enforcement.
expense, I mean, that would be something that landowners could share the cost of, I'm assuming they're paying for the, you know, but yeah, you've got all these things happening in Casper and Little River, and they're all 2 acres, and, you know, have
Something to consider.
people come up all at the same time. And then I'm just curious about whether the discovery clause has any teeth in it.
Yeah, put that on here too.
But tribal monitors might be a really nice way to
It's been brewing for some time, and the problem is getting people qualified and then having the money to pay them.
but it's cheaper than archaeologists.
Getting an archaeologist.
And I don't know how the tribes, I know when I was working for Sonoma State and on different projects, the cost of the insurance and that was like half the cost. I mean, salaries were like not.
I mean, that's the biggest fraud in America, I think, is insurance.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you're not paying all that money to people who are in the field. You're paying it to, you know, workman's comp and
Pie in the sky,
all these other
right.
things.
Oh, talk about workman's comp.
But I don't know if tribes would do it cheaper or, anyway, it seems like it seems like it might be a really nice, everybody wins kind of thing. You know, the tribes get a little more input into something, and the archaeologists get a little more confidence in something will be seen.
Okay, so well, those are the items agendized. The next item is matters from commission. So in addition to what we just discussed now, any other matters?
I can't think of anything right
Commissioner Dick?
now.
Nothing? Okay.
Well, give me time. 30 seconds, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. Then we'll move on to item 7, then matters from the public. Are there any people from the public here wishing to speak? No. Commissioner Dick, anyone there? Nope. Okay. And that brings us to item 8, adjournment. All in favor of adjournment? Aye.
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 It is the land acknowledgement.
Oh, the land acknowledgement. Yes, I have that. We'll land on some language, and then going forward, we will do the land acknowledgement.
So could you hand it out at
Yes.
the next meeting?
Yeah. Okay.
And then that has to go before the board of supervisors and yada yada?
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah.
But I will find out.
Okay. Check with Chris.
Yes. We can bring that up next month too when he's here. Okay, so redoing adjournment then. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Aye.
July 12th, is it?
Yes.
Yes, July 12th, Archaeological Commission adjournment at 3:50. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.